You said after the game something about our team isn't as good as the summer magazines made us out to be. Does that surprise you, or is your team about where you thought it would be?
Well, you know, my observations always, I mean, first of all, those people are complete idiots. I mean, they prove it every year. They're prognosticating and so forth, and we got certain writers that take that as gospel. To my knowledge, there's one publication, the Sporting News, picked us to be first. I read in the paper where there's 2 or 3 that picked us to be first. I ain't never seen any of those, and I read those things because I want to know about other teams and what they got returning and all that. But that's just the silliest thing in the world for anyone to take the gospel of some writer in New York City, or someplace else, you know, to write that garbage and you believe it.
Well, I think most of the magazines had Iowa 4th or 5th, you know, between Northwestern and Iowa for 4th or 5th behind the big 3.
Or 7th. I've got a couple of 8th or 9th. You know, but that it's all street. What difference does it make what they say? It's all guesswork. They don't even know us. They've never seen us play. They don't know anything except put down numbers. Kind of like the coaches poll. Isn't that ridiculous? To have teams ranked ahead of other teams, and that team's already beaten the other one, and they're 5, 6, 7 below it. That's terrible. I mean, there's no validity in polls. And I'm not talking about the Polish people now. Please don't get me wrong now. I don't want. You guys are always looking for some people. I love.
So you think Ohio State's #1 in the country? You think Ohio State should be #1 in the country?
Ohio State?
Yeah.
That's where I voted them. Based on what I've seen, they ought to be #1. And that's not taking anything away from Florida State, and all those other good folks, but based on what I've seen, they should be #1. I mean, their defense is playing unbelievable, as well as
Northwestern ahead of Michigan.
Well, yeah, I remember.
No, I noticed, you know, Michigan's ranked ahead of Northwestern, despite the fact Northwestern.
Another example. Yeah. No, I go by results. I'm a bottom line guy. If somebody beats somebody else, why shouldn't they be ahead of them? It doesn't make sense.
Was Ohio State better than last year, you think, even with losing some of the skilled players they lost?
I voted them #1. After what they did to us, there wasn't anybody. You know, after they lost to Michigan, that changed.
What are your biggest concerns about the Hawkeyes right now?
Health, #1. #2, mental mistakes at critical times. We've been bad making some mental mistakes at critical times that really hurt us. And then the quality of the opposition that we're playing. Everybody looks real good to me. I mean, here Illinois has always had that great defense. This year, they're not doing as well on defense, but they're really rolling on offense. A Holcomb kid just looks fantastic. Weaver kid throws for 4 touchdowns. As I go down the way, and you know, Northwestern's got everybody back. Ohio State doesn't have everybody back, but nearly everybody plays for them can leave early and go to the NFL. So Wisconsin got 18 of their 22 starters back. Minnesota got off to a great start. So every team that we look at down the way, I mean, we're going to have to play our best ball game from week to week to win, starting this week. So we slept at the switch for a quarter Saturday. I think we make our first play, first down on that 54, 55-yard pass to Demo, and you saw the enthusiasm it created with our players and everything, just one play. But we went a full quarter, and they had 17 points. And we obviously can't do that against everybody. We were very fortunate with the kicking game and making big plays ourselves. But some of the other things, too, and I know some of you sitting out here hate to hear this, but we have really cut down on our penalties. We've really cut down on our turnovers. Those things have really helped us. We're playing a whole lot like Northwestern played last year in that we're not winning a statistical war but we're winning the turnovers. Our kicking game is doing a real good job, and we're getting field position. We're taking advantage of the opportunities most of the time, and that's what Northwestern did last year, and now they start doing it again. They came back against Indiana and won the ball game. They came back from 16-0 against Michigan in the fourth quarter and did it. So there's lots of ways of winning a football game today.
Hey, you say that some of the summer publications were incorrect, but it seems like you were fairly optimistic, though, yourself. Did you misjudge your team?
Hell, aren't I still optimistic?
I don't know.
Well, sure. Well, you guys are crazy. Several of you are really crazy. Others of you are nice people. Still crazy, but no, I didn't change my opinion at all. Once again, for the umpteenth time, who do we have back in the offensive line that played last year? Who? Ross Burba. America, completely including 2 tight ends that are in the NFL. I mean, that's just ridiculous. The thing that I'm optimistic about, we got good people. We got quality people. They just hadn't played. They're going to get better and better with experience. They're getting better now as the season progresses. That's just like everybody wants us to throw the ball all over the field immediately. I got offensive linemen that hadn't blocked anybody. The hardest thing to do is teach the running game, hard nose. So we emphasize the running game, get it going. Everybody, how come they're not passing? How come they don't throw the tight end? All that nickel and dime crap. Hey, I've been coaching 45 years. I know what I'm doing. We have to build up to that. You can't do everything in one day. That's just ridiculous to think that we're Houdini. Or those kids up there, they got to learn their blocking assignments, all those different defensive schemes. They got to apply their blocking rules and all this and that. So you take the running game so you can establish credibility. That's the way you win football games, with defense and the running game. Have you ever read about somebody saying the first thing we got to do to stop another team is play pass defense? If you're playing BYU and maybe 2 or 3 other teams in America, you can say that. Everybody else, the first thing you do in order to win is to stop the run. And if the other team doesn't have a running game, you're not going to win many ball games. It's that simple. So that's why it's so strange that some of you guys have been around a long time in sports don't understand that you try to get your running game going, teach those guys how to be tough up front, and if you got 2 running backs like we got, plus Berger and kids like that, that's the obvious thing. I know that Sherman can throw the ball. I know that Tim Dwight and Demo can catch the ball. And then we got a new tight end. We got to bring him along. Well, that's what we're doing. It's not mystical what we've been doing if you just sit back and think about it. We get there. We got a good passing game. I keep telling you that. Our running game is getting better with those kids because they're doing it. But you have to learn it. Same way on defense. We're not great on defense. So we're trying to learn how to stop them. If you just go through our defense and look at the new people we got, they have to learn. They don't know it overnight. So how could I go along with publication that says we're going to be ranked in the top 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the Big Ten to start with? My optimism is that we're going to get better and better because we've done a good job recruiting. I got a good coaching staff, and we know what we're doing. But it doesn't happen overnight. And then you throw in a few key injuries, and that shoots that, that puts a hole in your inner tube. So you have to go back to square one. So there's not any expert prognosticator. Never has been, never will be on football. That's just the way it is. And I'm not getting on anybody. You guys are smarter than that. To put that much weight on some idiot in New York, I call him an idiot. He's probably a real nice guy. He's making a living by putting out this guy's ranked here, this team's ranked here, and so forth. That's his business. He gets paid for it. But he sure as hell doesn't make him accurate. So why do you have to believe it? You guys can guess as good as anybody. So what difference does it make if we come in, if we don't meet somebody by the point spread? What's that mean? The objective is to win. What difference does it make? None. We're doing a guarantee. It works, sometimes it doesn't. At least we're giving the best effort we can. You have to be critical and knock those kids. You don't. I'm telling you, you don't have that right. I mean, how many of you guys had a jock strap on playing Big Ten football, and how many games did you win? It's kind of like set up the stands, all the booing and this and that and so forth. How many times have they been out there on the field getting knocked around and so forth? Zippo. But they're experts. That's their right. You don't hear me griping about it. I'm just asking you the question. Ask yourself the question. When did you as a writer become so smart that everything you can knock it, or it's not as good as it should be? That's ridiculous. I mean, where's the fairness? You're talking about 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old youngsters out there. Some of them is like last week. You don't know that Cedric Shaw's got a broken left thumb. He's got a big old cast on it. It hasn't worked in 2 weeks. Or Tavian Banks got a knockdown shoulder and so forth. You know, it goes on and on. You don't know about that. Why? Because I'm not going to tell you if a kid's going to play, because the other team will pick on him. If he's not going to play, I'll let you know. But if he's wounded and he's going to play, that's unfair to the youngster. It's that simple. So, and all that crap in the paper over here, Cedar Rapids Gazette, writing, I don't return calls. What a bunch of garbage. There's not a guy in this room out here that's a writer with a publication or a TV guy, or after I get through here or after a press conference, that I don't take time to visit with and answer the questions. Not a one. What a cheap shot in the newspaper that I won't return the call to the Cedar Rapids Gazette. What a bunch of garbage. That's ridiculous.
Pardon me, but,
Pardon you what? We log every telephone call and you check with the secretaries. If you call on something that's due with the law and the trial hadn't been set, I'm not going to return your call on that because I'm not the judge and I can't get that kid in further trouble by commenting on it. That's the only category. When it has to do with the police.
Sir, I've tried for 7 years.
7 years what? Itch? Horse. Give me that junk. I didn't bring this to a head. Ask my secretary and staff. Ask Phil Hattie, the other people. That's ridiculous. I'll stand in here and answer questions. Ask Ron Malley. Did I return your calls, Ron? Sure. Bob Brooks, Jim Zabel, whoever calls. Back in the early days, it may have been that something happened and you got the idea when Mark Dukes or somebody like that didn't do it. You know, I can't remember not returning the guy's call unless it has to do with the law. But I'm not going to return your call. You lied. You lied about the uniform, said that Hayden Fry gave you permission to come over and take pictures of her uniform. Told equipment people that. Phil Hattie?
What I said, Hayden, was that when I called Phil, Phil said if I could get your permission, and when I talked to Durbridge and the equipment people, I said, if it's okay with Hayden, we'd like to come down and get a picture of...
That's not what my equipment people said. So, hey, I can appreciate your intensity trying to scoop the other people by learning about the uniforms or who flunked out or this and that. That's being aggressive. That's fine. But let's don't lie about things.
I didn't, sir.
Well,
I've made phone calls to your office for 7 years asking for...
you check the books. You can check the books. You can talk with the secretaries. We got guys in here I hardly know. Where's the Associated Press guy? You don't call very often. Do I return your calls? I return the calls. It is just something that some of you guys, but to put that in the paper, I don't do it. That's just ridiculous. But just like my wife says, why do I take time to answer your question? When you ask something, or Mike Halas, when you ask something, why do I take time to explain it to you, or stay afterwards and give you a story, or this and that and so forth, when all you're going to do is just stick the knife in us? That's just ridiculous. You think I enjoy that? You think my players enjoy that?
I'd like to think that over the years our coverage has been...
Hey, Jim, you've done a lot of good things. Don't get me wrong. You've done a lot of good things. But it's just like somebody at the Cedar Rapids Gazette said, hey, this is the year. Let's get on the Hawks. Let's get everything negative. Let's write the story, but go back and find out all the things that they didn't do, be critical and all this and that, and you and Mike just do a takeoff. You think I like doing business with you? You're personally a real nice guy, but I don't like doing business with you. Anybody else?
To set the record straight, you did return a call this year on the Gary Barnett book and things like that, and you did return calls when you first got here, and then things kind of deteriorated after that. But on important things, you have returned calls to me, so I'd like to get that record straight.
Thank you, Ronnie. I appreciate that.
And I know you get a lot of calls, but they're
Unbelievable, from all over the United States. You know, I get them from everywhere. Chicago papers, New York Times, Sports Illustrated people. I don't turn down the people. I got a heck of a heavy work schedule, but if it's important, I try to get to it. But if it's something to do with the law, I can't do that because I get the youngster in trouble.
Jim is an outstanding reporter, and I don't know what your
I
problem
like Jim personally.
Yeah.
It's just some of the writings, the stuff like insinuating that I don't return the call. That's ridiculous. I just want to get that off my chest because that's not true, and I don't want to scare the rest of you off. You know, I may not have to return one to the Daily Island one time on Excel, the dumbest thing I've ever seen, trying to get an article on me on Excel communication when I made a tape for assistant coaches across America. This is a good way to supplement your salary, and somebody came out and said that wasn't a good idea, and so I didn't return that call. I know the one I haven't returned, but it's been something other than football. You're entitled to football.
Hayden, tell us some about the play of Reichel, McKinney, the new people in there, because we don't have statistics on offensive linemen.
Right.
Doing pretty well?
They're doing a credible job. They've kind of rotated from game to game on who plays good and who plays bad. The most consistent player has been Billy Reardon, the center, and then the most improved player has been Derrick Rose, who took Mike Goff's place, who's injured. And overall, they're doing a pretty good job. I don't know. I don't recall how many sacks we had last week. One or two.
If you had time to listen to a replay, and maybe you didn't, the TV commentators on Saturday were very complimentary of Reardon. You know, they went back and showed several of the blocks he made to open the way for Granquist.
Yeah, he's been very consistent. And
but Rose is still playing ahead of Goff. Is that because Goff is not 100%? Or Rose out playing?
yeah, he's only worked out just a few times the last month. And hopefully he'll get to play this week. He got in for some plays last week, and he's not, you know, real sore, but he's got a type of injury that he gets fatigued and then he's hurting bad.
Do you think Flemister will play Saturday?
No. I don't. He definitely won't play.
Is Dole your backup tight end then?
Yeah, I've got to walk on backup tight end.
Hayden, I'd like to ask you about, you talked about the Indiana crowd. You said a couple of your coaches got hit on the head. What can you go into detail about that the last time you were over there?
Well, it might make them throw more. The one got hit on the head with whatever was Gene Jones, and I got a big kick out of it. He grabbed the security guy and he said, "If you don't straighten these people out throwing stuff at us, I'm going to go up there and kick some." I thought that was pretty funny because I'd lost a coach, you know.
You think they were throwing things from the stands? Is that it?
Yeah. They're bad. We come on and off the field over there, every four-letter word and obscenity to our players and our coaches, and just really bad.
Why do you think that is? I mean, it's not. It isn't one of the big rivalries. They don't have passionate college football.
I would be surprised if they just picked us out. That might be the normal thing. I don't know. I don't even know if Coach Mallory is aware of it. I've never discussed it with him. I know at one time all of you were aware it was really bad at Wisconsin, big time, and from rotten eggs and tomatoes and everything else, and that's cleaned up. I mean, I think we've been treated well at Wisconsin. And I'm not trying to make anything big out of this. It's just unusual, though. You got a 50,000 seat stadium and you only got 33 or 4,000 people in there. And then you get treated that way with a lot of the fans.
So you're saying this is the worst place in the Big Ten now?
It is for us. It is for us. And we have to warn our players and so forth so they don't get into it with the fans and the people.
Do you think the fans are trying to entertain themselves in some strange way because their football team isn't very good?
You know, I couldn't answer that question. I'm not of that mindset. I like to be nice to people, and you know.
Well, you know, Wednesday's story in the Bloomington Herald Telephone or whatever, Fry says UI crowd worse than Big Ten. That probably won't help the situation on Saturday.
They've already said that?
No, I said tomorrow's story. We'll say that, you know.
Well, maybe they'll have straightened it up. I had to do that once at Wisconsin, you know, and you know, they were hitting us with rotten eggs and everything else up at Wisconsin, pouring, what do you call it, snops or snaps, that stuff through that screen wire and the beer. Well, they slashed our tire. My wife, she made the mistake of driving up there, and they slashed the tires and tied the antenna into a knot and all that, and along with a whole lot of Iowa people. And then I got to hearing the stories about way back when they turned over the bus that carried the band and stuff like that. And I think overall the Big Ten has probably really cleaned things up.